episode of The Jump. We officially have a Final Four. So we have UConn, Alabama, NC State, and Purdue. So a lot of storylines getting into this. So we'll just get straight into it. We'll talk a little Elite Eight, at least for these specific teams. UConn, just a wagon. Obviously, everybody's followed them the last couple years, and to this point, still their closest game that they've played in March the last two seasons is Miami in the Final Four last year, where they won by 13. So they dominated. They beat Illinois 77-52 this past weekend, and first time they've gone back-to-back to the Final Four in school history. So they're setting UConn history with a great. It's a great historic program. Since '99. Because now they've made it to 7. But yeah, this game brought an insane amount of historic stats. It started out with a very bad interview early on with Brad Underwood saying, if Donovan Clingan blocks it 100 times, then he blocks it 100 times. So that was initially that was the story of the game. It was a pretty good game in the first half. He says that I think that was early on in the first half, and it felt like Donovan ended up blocking it 100 times. Illinois was 0 for 19 at the rim when he contested a shot. Like, he didn't have to block them all, but they didn't score when he contested it. Like, it was ridiculous. It couldn't have been worse game planning ever. It was ridiculous. I don't understand what their mindset was. And initially, like, when he blocks a few of them, why don't you just try something different? Obviously, Terrence Shannon had been on a tear the entire tournament, and a lot of it was being able to get downhill, get to the rim, get some tough buckets. But, like, Donovan Clingan ain't budging. So I don't know what their plan was. I don't know what their mindset was going into that one, or even at halftime. I don't know what they're thinking. But with that 0-19 at the rim, Illinois only scored 14 points when Donovan Clingan was on the court. Early on in the game, they popped up like the graphic of the team's box score plus minus versus like when Donovan Clingan was on the court, and it was like minus 11 when he was on the court, and it was like 5 minutes into the game. It was wild. Just a dominant performance from him. Like Brad Underwood's a great coach. They had a great year. I think they had 29 wins this year. It was mind-boggling that like they settled for what they ended up doing there. Like, that was unreal. And obviously the storyline that everybody got to end up seeing, 30-0 run to start the second half for UConn. It was the end of the first half. At halftime it was 28-23 UConn. So from the end of the first half into the second half, 30-0 run. Illinois went 50 real-time minutes without scoring a point. It was unreal. I was actually at my grandparents' house. I told my grandpa that I told him exactly what was going to happen. I was like, all right, it's going to go into halftime. It's going to be like a 4 or 5 point game. It's a 5-point game at half. And I said, once they come out, it'll be between halftime and the 14-minute mark. There will be some insane run, and the game will never be close again. And he said from just watching the tournament and stuff, he didn't think that was going to happen. He thought Illinois was going to hit some shots and get some things done. And he said he was wrong, which is the truth. 30-0 run, pure dominance. It's what they do like every game. It's never been to this extent, because this was the only one in the last like 3 or 4 years of college basketball in general, and it happened in the Elite Eight. But it happens every game. It's like at the beginning of the second half, they find some time that they end up just putting their foot on the gas and never letting up. So that's what they did in this one too. Some of the insane stats for UConn, like I mentioned earlier, like they're on a historic run these last 2 years. Every game this tournament, UConn has led by at least 30 points in the game at some point. That's ridiculous in itself. UConn is winning their games in this tournament by an average of 27.8 points per game. And this is where you would think, like, some of these games they probably got nuclear. They were probably shooting really well one night. They won by like 50, so they're getting their average up. No, they're shooting 28% from 3 currently. And I would imagine that nobody's ever shot that low but had an average margin of victory by that much. They're winning by 28 points per game, shooting 28%. It's ridiculous how dominant they've been without even having to, like, go nuclear from 3 or anything. Another Donovan Clingan stat, he had 9 2-point field goals in the game. Illinois' entire team had 11. It's ridiculous. This stat was insane. This is Mark Titus. He either tweeted this or somebody had told me, but Mark Titus did this little research to find this. Andrew Hurley, Dan Hurley's son, he's a senior. He's a walk-on. He's now played 15 minutes in the NCAA tournament between the last 2 years. It's been 10 games that he's played in. He was in the class of 2020, which had 24 5-stars in it, which is a lot of 5-stars anyways. But besides that, 24 5-stars in that class. Andrew Hurley has now logged more NCAA tournament minutes than 10 of the 5-stars. That's ridiculous. Like those dudes, like those 5-stars went somewhere and they played every second of every game, and they played every second of every game in the tournament. Like it's unreal like how dominant they've been that their walk-on plays that much. It's impressive. There's like nothing. It's literally like I'm just speechless at how dominant this run has been. Then to their opponent, who they will be playing in the Final Four, Alabama, in the football matchup. Alabama beats Clemson in the rematch, which also I haven't done a podcast since the last one. The Alabama-North Carolina game was phenomenal. Armando Bacot, it's crazy to think his career is actually over now. R.J. Davis, I think, can technically come back with a COVID year, but Armando is actually done. It's crazy. This game was wild. Like nobody thought either of these teams were going to be here. The country tried to get people to pick New Mexico. I saw big time media people putting New Mexico in the Final Four, which you can't hate them for it because like Clemson, they had shown weakness throughout the year, and I think we even said when we were banking the bracket, like Clemson wasn't a strong 6 seed by any means. They seemed susceptible to an upset, and they were a 6 seed playing an 11. Like it just seemed like it could have happened, and New Mexico could have done something. And Clemson just went on a run. They ended up beating Baylor after that, beating Arizona after that, and they play Alabama here in this Elite Eight matchup, and Alabama just outlast them 89-82. The P.J. Hall foul out was kind of a game changer. Nick Pringle hooked him, but I mean, still it was just up till that point. It felt like the whole time, like Clemson wasn't supposed to win that game. Like even when like they went down, Alabama like was never scared once. Like it felt like they were like just chilling the whole time. Man, yeah, I mean it just felt like Alabama was going to get it done, no matter what happened. The two guys that I want to mention for Alabama, obviously Mark Sears has been great all year. Nick Pringle had 16 points in this game, and he's averaging 7 on the year. So that's always going to help. And then you get off the bench, you got 19 out of Jaron Stevenson, who averages 5 points a game. That's ridiculous. If you're going to have dudes like that, like a guy off the bench scoring 19 for you, obviously they've got their great players that they've had all season. Aaron Estrada, Ryan Griffin. Grant Nelson didn't play well in this game, but he did in the North Carolina game. Mark Sears, it goes on. But if you're going to have guys like Jaron Stevenson coming off the bench there, like putting up those numbers, that's going to be very helpful. So first ever Final Four for the Alabama Crimson Tide. In a year where it's been weird because as a Kentucky fan, we beat them by like 30-something. We got up like 38 or 37 at one point in the game, like pure dominance. And then they're here in the Final Four, so it's crazy. They were like the 4th, 5th best team. I mean, they had a chance to win the SEC regular season, but like they were like the 3rd, 4th, 5th best team all year. Like they were never the best. And yeah, it's crazy. Like it's wild that this is the team out of the SEC that did it, and it's weird that this is Nate Oates' team that did it because obviously last year was miles better, but this team has the seniority, and so I guess that's what it takes, and everybody bought in. So, but the crazy thing, it started to like resurface on like ESPN, different stuff. 11 years ago, Nate Oates was a math teacher coaching high school basketball and like selling like candy and stuff to like fundraise for his team. And here he is 11 years later, a head coach of a team in the Final Four. So it's wild, the journey that he's had. So shout out to him. A lot of people have a sour taste in their mouth off of how he dealt with the whole Brandon Miller situation. and like playing him the night that all of this stuff came out. But I just think, I mean, obviously analytically he's a step ahead of everybody, and people hate him for it. People just hate that mindset that he has, that it's either you're shooting a three or shooting at the rim, which is also a big deal because if their plan is to ever shoot at the rim with Donovan Clingan on the court, they're in for a rude awakening. But I think there's a world where, I mean, I'll get into those games in a little bit, but like there's a world where they could just go nuclear from three and maybe upset UConn. But it would definitely be a big upset. And then I want to throw on the screen a picture of Alabama's shot chart from this game. It's a thing of beauty. It is awesome. They just like follow the analytics to a T, and that's exactly what they do, and that's how they play their games. So I am filming this at it's right now it's halftime of the LSU Iowa game, which, I mean, once the numbers come out, it'll be one of the most streamed games, and it's crazy that they're matching up in the Elite Eight, but it just hit halftime. Almost said Malaysia Full Ali. Flau'jae Johnson just hit a tough bucket to tie it at 45 going into half. It's been a great half of basketball. Angel Reese took over at moments. Caitlin Clark's been doing her thing as well, so getting everything that we were asking for in that one. So that's definitely an exciting game. It's just crazy. It's in the Elite Eight as a rematch from last year. But continuing on with the men's, we had Purdue, Tennessee, which I don't know, like if anybody else, like I'm sure a lot of Tennessee fans had some like bad thoughts about how the 2019 Tennessee team was like their best chance to make a run, best chance to make a Final Four ever, and then that got spoiled by a man named Ryan Klein wearing a Purdue jersey, and Carson Edwards. That was that run. I'm sure there was a little bit of that thought going into it, but you like truthfully, like you can make an argument that Tennessee was a better team going into this game, and Purdue beats them again. So it's crazy. Purdue beats Tennessee 72-66 in this one. First Final Four since 1980 for Purdue. Edey just took over. Obviously, there's a lot of people that are starting to watch him for the first time. I've been watching this dude for like 3 years. It's not anything new to me, the calls that he gets. But there's a lot of people that are like first timers that are starting to watch his games, and they're like, "This is ridiculous. This is Edey ball. He gets every call, whatever." It's just, I don't know. There's nothing I can say because it's not new to me. It's just like it's the thing that happens. We just live with it. But he had 40 and 16 in this game. He's averaging 30 and 16 for the tournament. It's been pure dominance. I think it's just one of those things where once he's gone, people are gonna like miss like being able to see this man play basketball because it's crazy what he's been doing. And like all the stats that they pop up, he's in just elite company. It's like Shaq, David Robinson, Bill Walton, Lou Alcindor, like for all these college stats in these tournaments, like it's crazy. So I just think for right now, like don't take Zach Edey for granted because what he's been able to do and on this run, and obviously I've been saying it the whole year, Purdue is going to make a run. I didn't know if it would be a Final Four, but they weren't getting bounced first round. The way that Fletcher Loyer, Braden Smith, Lance Jones, the way they had been playing this year, Mason Gillis at times would play great basketball. They were not getting bounced in the first round. That was not happening. There was no world where that was going to happen. Even second round, I never thought there was a chance, and they've dominated their way to the Final Four. This was the closest game they've played. And shout out to Tennessee, but like you can't even get mad at the refs for this one. Like, yeah, there was probably a couple calls like that could have gone both ways. I think there was bad calls both ways in my opinion, but you should probably be mad at anybody not named Dalton Connect because nobody else could buy a basket. Dalton Connect had 37 points. I'm pretty sure he was like efficient with it too. Let me see these numbers that he had. Just nobody else could buy a basket, and I just think all the blame should kind of be, he was 14 for 31. I mean, he was hooping. The team overall shot 24 for 62 from the field, 39%, 11 for 26 from three. It's crazy. Dalton was hooping, but it's just nobody else was able to do anything really. Dalton 37, 3 rebounds and an assist to go with it. He was 50% from three. It's just Dalton showed up And, I mean, it was the story of the game last year when they lost to FAU. Nobody could buy a basket. Nobody could score. And then they have the guy that can score, and they have that guy. If Jordan Gagne, if he had came over from USC Upstate and did exactly what they brought him to do, they would be moving on to the Final Four, no doubt in my mind. And they probably would have cruised through this game. If they just had another bucket getter like Dalton, even if it's like a light version of it, it's just it's not a recipe for success. Just not getting people that can score. It's 2024. We're not just going to be able to sit down and play defense. And I think Rick Barnes has started to notice that, but I think he's got to recruit that way as well to match his thinking. But yeah, shout out to Zach Edey, shout out to Purdue, Matt Painter getting over the hump, first Final Four since 1980. It was also funny, Zach Edey cutting down the nets without a ladder, so that was crazy. But yeah, you want to spark some controversy, just say something about Zach Edey on Twitter, one way or the other, and people will be pretty upset with you. NC State beats Duke 76-64. This game, I think for me it's always been easy to pull for NC State because they're kind of the forgotten little brother, like in my head and to a lot of people, because it's North Carolina and Purdue, but there's also another leg of that triangle that is NC State. And I thought there was no world where NC State would win this game. They had just beat Duke like 2 weeks ago in the ACC tournament. It was a huge upset. I just thought Duke had a little extra motivation. And then, I mean, Duke is loaded. Like, Duke has so much talent on their team. There's no reason they should have been beat by them, but it happened. First Final Four since 1983. This game was crazy. DJ Burns went off the vending machine. DJ Horn played phenomenal. Like, that duo was crazy. Mohamed Diarra. Like, it's still crazy because I know it's been like blown up. ESPN posts about it all the time. They mention it 5,000 times a game that he's fasting for Ramadan right now. But it is kind of wild to think about. It's been back-to-back years that Adama Sanogo last year for UConn, who won the most valuable player in the Final Four for them, he was fasting for Ramadan too. So I think it's crazy. I think it's if like NC State, if they win the Final Four game, he'd be able to eat before the national championship. But like, I don't know the exact day that it ends. But yeah, it's impressive what they've been able to do. One thing, I'll throw it up on the screen, a picture of Jim Valvano, his gravesite today. Like, there was somebody that tweeted that they like went to go see their grandpa, who is buried in the same cemetery as Jim Valvano, and he goes to see him, and he said there was a lot of extra visitors today. It's amazing. This is what makes college basketball so amazing. Obviously, don't give up, don't ever give up, the famous quote from him. And I feel like that's literally what we're seeing out of NC State right now. This run has been just the best run of my life. I've never seen anything like it. They're one of like 6 or 7 11 seeds ever to make it to the Final Four. But 9 straight wins now. The run that they're on is just the most impressive thing. Another thing, the NC State Barstool account has been tweeting, I think it started as a joke. They said 11 straight wins or something, and we're national champs. They've had to tweet that every single, because then it went to 10 games, 9 games, now 2 games and they're national champions, and they're still tweeting that. It's crazy to think that they're at this point. Kevin Keats was on the hot seat before that, probably getting fired before the ACC tournament. And then they were tied with Louisville. They were probably ready to like let him know right after the game that he was getting fired. They were tied with Louisville with like 3 or 4 minutes left in the game, and they ended up beating them. And then I think it was the next game. It might have been 2 games later or something. They were playing Virginia. Virginia's at the line, up 2, I think, with 2 shots. I think that was how it went. They were up 2 shots. They have an 87% shooter at the line. He makes one and misses the second, so they're up 3. I don't think they have timeouts or anything. NC State just goes down, and I think it was O'Connell hits a banked-in 3 to take it to overtime, and they end up winning in overtime. The fact that both of those things happen, they end up winning the Louisville game, and that happens, it's just the most, like, nothing is like college basketball. It's so crazy what's happened like to this point to get them here. It's unreal. Obviously, I think this goes without being said, the most losses by a team in the Final Four ever. I think that's kind of expected. But, like, they were 17-14 in the regular season, I'm pretty sure. And also with the Clemson thing, Brad Brownell was on the hot seat as well. Let's not forget that. And then they made an Elite Eight run. So both of those guys, shout out to both of them, getting extensions. And I don't know if Brownell did, but I know he's not getting fired now. But Kevin Keatts got a 2-year extension for just winning the ACC. He might just be a legend there for life. This run has been incredible, and it's been great to see over all this time. So it's crazy. I thought there was no way Duke was losing, but as a Kentucky fan, Duke and Tennessee losing on Easter Sunday is the greatest thing that I can ask for. So we'll talk Final Four a little bit. Number 1 seed UConn, number 1 overall. And then I don't remember. It was 2. I want to say Houston was the number 1 seed. Which, speaking of them, of course Duke got Jamal Shead out of Jamal Shead was hurt, and they play the Jamal Sheadless Houston Cougars. So that was how freaking Duke ended up getting to that point. But nonetheless, I hope Jamal Shead gets well. I hope he gets healthy very soon. I think there's a good career in the NBA for him. Like, I know people have joked on it, but Patrick Beverly, that man has made something out of how he plays basketball, and I think it's somewhat what Jamal Shead could be for a lot of teams in the NBA. But we have the 1 seed UConn out of the East, the 4 seed Alabama out of the West, 1 seed Purdue out of the Midwest, playing the 11 seed NC State out of the South. So, I'm excited for this Final Four. I'm super excited for it. This is going to be, like I mentioned, we have UConn for their 7th time since 1999, which is an unreal run anyways. Then you have Alabama, first time ever. Purdue, first time since 1980. Then NC State, first time since 83. It's crazy. So these games will be, the first game is at 6:09 Saturday, April 6th, and then following it, Alabama UConn's the second game, 8:49 Saturday. So NC State Purdue will be first. Alabama UConn will be second, both on April 6th, and then the national championship 9:20 on April 8th. So a week from when I'm filming this, we will have a national champion. It's unreal. So I'm excited for it. But one thing that I want to note, this is incredible. The transfers. I think this is it's eye-opening to me because, the one thing, I think it was someone from On3 posted about it. In the Sweet 16, there was 80 players. And I think there was, it was single-digit number of freshmen starting in the games. It was crazy. So I think this is the new wave of it. So just in the Final Four alone, this isn't even all of them. I'm not going to name all of them. These are just the big players for certain teams. UConn, Tristan Newton, their best player in my opinion. East Carolina transfer. Cam Spencer, one of the best shooters in college basketball, transferred from Rutgers. Both of those transfers, and they both played phenomenal, great minutes for their school, and they're both older guys. I think Tristan Newton spent 3 years at Eastern Carolina, 2 years at UConn. And Cam Spencer, I think this is 5th year. He was at Loyola, Maryland, then Rutgers, and then now UConn. But those guys, for example, for UConn, on this dominant run, they've been doing that. They also have guys like Donovan Clingan who've just been in the program. Alabama, Mark Sears. He went to Ohio, then transfers to Alabama. Aaron Estrada is also on Alabama, one of their best players. Transfer from Hofstra, a couple other schools as well, Oregon, St. Peter's. But another dude, those two have started nearly the whole year, if not the whole year, both of them. Mark Sears was in the run for SEC Player of the Year, and then they're here in the Final Four. It's crazy. Purdue, Lance Jones came from Southern Illinois. He's been the missing piece that they've needed. To me, he has been everything they've needed, everything they've been missing in this run that they've had. NC State, DJ Burns came from Winthrop. DJ Horn came from Arizona State. This is just the new era of college basketball. like the NIL transfer portal era is how it is, and I think that like this truly shows. I think there's one freshman starting. If I don't remember their exact starting lineup, but Stephon Castle for UConn, is he the only one? I think he's the only freshman starting in the Final Four. Off the top of my head, that's how I think it is. But yeah, this is just a new era of college basketball. Like, I know it's a crazy like adapt thing, but one great way to put it, I heard Matt Jones say this. I think it was yesterday. Like, a big thing about life is being able to like see the future and adjust to it, adapt to it, whatever, before it happens, and be the first to do it. So like be able to visualize it and be the first one to do it. There's no doubt John Calipari was the one that saw the one and done era and completely changed college basketball by adapting that and being that guy, being known as the one and done coach, and he changed it. I mean, it got a lot of other people into it. Coach K didn't even want to change, and he ended up having to. So there's no doubt in my mind there. There's guys like Dan Hurley that have just noticed this, and they've been the first to it. So they're getting these older guys that have been experienced, and they played years at smaller schools that got overlooked out of high school. And then he brings them in, and he's able to fully get them to buy in and like just play great basketball and play together. It's impressive what these coaches have been able to do. I mean, like if you just look at the best players in the tournament, like Terrence Shannon's a transfer as well. I mean, Kansas was built on some transfers. Like, this is just a new wave, and I think obviously last year, speaking for my Kentucky Wildcats, we could not have brought in like a whole bunch of great transfers. We had Antonio Reeves, obviously. Trey Mitchell came. But we had 6 freshmen incoming that were like 5-stars. 1 4-star and Reed Shepherd, who ended up being as good as a 5-star. But like next year we've got like Boogie Flan, Jaden Quaintance, Billy Richmond, Travis Perry. I feel like I'm missing somebody. So 4 or 5 players coming in. I think we've got to go into the transfer portal. There's a lot of great players in the transfer portal. Riley Kugel, he's already left Florida, committed to Kansas. But I mean, there's guys like Michi Johnson's in the transfer portal right now from South Carolina, a great player. I was shocked that he transferred in the first place, but I mean, he's a great transfer. Vlad Golden, I think, is in the transfer portal. It could have been an April Fool's joke because I'm filming this on April Fool's, but the transfer portal is loaded, and I think this is the new era. And I feel like John Calipari is seeing it, but he's just got to like adjust and adapt to that, because this is like, it'll leave you behind if you don't adapt. So I think it's one thing to note how many transfers there are. And just this is the wave of college basketball that we're in, the NIL like era. But yeah, so I didn't mention a whole lot of the Sweet 16 games. What a run it was for Creighton, Ryan Kalkbrenner, Trey Alexander, Baylor Shireman, Ryan Ashworth. Like, we'll never see those guys hoop together again. So that was kind of sad to see that run end. What was another sad? It was sad to see North Carolina go out to me. Those guys have been hooping for a long time. Like, I'm a huge R.J. Davis fan. That one was sad. Arizona, that went out in the worst way possible. I mean, Tommy Lloyd has obviously proven to be an amazing regular season coach. He's gotten them a 1 seed once and a 2 seed twice, I think, and hasn't made the Elite Eight yet. So it's crazy. Caleb Love shot like 1 for 55 million in that game, and shooting like horrible shots too. That game, it just felt like they had no business even like playing it. But yeah, I mean, it's been sad seeing some of these teams go. Like for me, Houston, seeing them get knocked out was sad. Shaka Smart, he had, I mean, people joke on like the term, but like a Mickey Mouse run that he had to make. He had to beat a 10 seed, or he had to beat a 15 seed Western Kentucky, a 10 seed Colorado, and then an 11 seed NC State to make the Elite Eight. and he couldn't do that. So that was crazy. Other than that, Gonzaga got ran off the floor by Purdue, which a lot of people, including myself, thought that could be the spot where Purdue dropped out. But Purdue, man, they're a train right now. So it's been crazy to see this tournament play out the way it has. But I think it's a great Final Four. You get a team that's like a Cinderella that people love to root for, like America's team and NC State. You get the two best teams in the tournament, the two by far best teams in the tournament, Purdue and UConn. You get those two still in there, and then Alabama plays a fun brand of basketball that people will enjoy watching. And like I mentioned earlier, like Purdue, NC State, like it's literally just going to be like every game is stopping Zach Edey. Figure out how to stop him. I don't necessarily I don't think DJ Burns is going to be the guy that can just like hold him to like 10 points or whatever, but that's going to be a fun matchup. And then Alabama, like there's a chance they could just go out and not miss threes. I think personnel-wise, they've got the guards to go with it. They're pretty tall. Like they'll be taller in most positions. Obviously, they don't have anybody to match up with Donovan Clingan, but like they've just got a pretty tall roster overall outside Mark Sears. So I think that one could be a really fun game. But there's also a world where UConn just continues to do what they do, and they're just going to end up throttling them by like 30. So, yeah, it's been a freaking amazing tournament. As a Kentucky fan, it took me a few days to get back adjusted and get back into the swing of things watching it. But it's been awesome. I hope you all have enjoyed it as well. So by the time I film another episode, we will have a national champion. So that's going to be exciting. Make sure you all tune in to next week's episode, and we'll talk a little college basketball once again. Make sure to follow the socials. The Jump Sports _ on Instagram. Just the Jump Sports with nothing on TikTok. I've been posting a lot on Instagram, so definitely go check that out. Updates, coaching moves, different stuff like that. So definitely check that out. I don't think I'm really missing anything. Opening day was this past weekend. As a Reds fan, I don't have it up anymore. I used to have a Reds thing right here, but as a Reds fan, we're 2-1 as I'm filming this. Or did we play tonight too? Baseball plays a billion games. I can't even keep up. We're playing right now, so I didn't even know that. But we are 2-1 as I'm filming this. It was a series with the Nationals. We won the first game. Looked like we were the greatest team of all time. Go ahead and give us the trophy. Lost the second one. And then the third one, we won off of a Will Benson in the bottom of the ninth to tie it. And then Christian Encarnacion Strand hits a walk-off to win it for us. So it's been fun so far. We're playing well. Playing at the Phillies right now. So it's 2-2 in going into the seventh. So shout out the Reds. Another thing, the Rockies look like they might just be the worst team to ever play baseball ever. They won a game. I didn't even know that. But the Cubs had their home opener today against the Rockies, and they allowed like a 3-run inside the park home run. So that was wild. The Rockies kind of suck. I think the Yankees are undefeated still. But yeah, baseball's in full effect. I'm loving it. It's been awesome to get it straight into baseball like this. After my Cats had an early exit in March, so it's been kind of a regular thing the past couple of years for me. But definitely sad. I didn't talk about it a whole lot last week, but the hip drop tackle in the NFL, that rule is crazy, and the new kickoff rule is going to be wild too. So in the summer, I'll probably have more stuff like breaking that down, talking like just football one episode, whatever it may be. So, but after next week, I do plan to take like a little break, a couple weeks off the podcast, and then I'll be having guests on, whether it be players or people in the media. So definitely be looking for that going into the off season of college basketball and stuff like that. And then I'll have some NBA episodes going there. I kind of try to keep these like on like one main topic. As you can tell, it was like college football for a while, shifted into college basketball. So that's kind of the goal of it. But definitely go check out the socials, go follow, and then I'll throw them at the end of the video as well. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of this women's tournament. It's in the Elite Eight right now. Enjoy the men's tournament. Obviously, the Final Four coming up this next weekend. But thank you. Have a great rest of the week. Stay safe and peace.